It's easy to see that Holly has lost his mind again. Now, Vinny tweeted that at 3:11 yesterday. I don't remember what we were talking about, but the timestamp is irrelevant because it could apply to anything, any day. Like, let's just take that tweet and just have it on standby and just drop it. It's like doing radio when you got the drops. Let's just have that tweet. Thank you for that generically, broadly applicable tweet, Vinny Goodwill, because that is the case day in and day out. What were we talking about at the time, Vinny?
I can tell you, we were talking about LeBron versus Michael Jordan, but hey, Vinny, I look forward to your column on Yahoo Sports. Let's see. I'm going to tell you, you'll be writing it about 5 years from now, where you'll be fawning over LeBron. At that point, maybe he'll finally retire, have a couple more MVPs, a couple more championships, and then you'll be writing a very well-written column about how he's the greatest of all time. I can't help it, Vinny, that I see things before you and Michael Smith do. Some people will call me a visionary. I can't say that about myself. That's for others to say. So I see it before you guys. And eventually, you'll catch up. I look forward to it.
To borrow the phrase from Martin, I think it was season 3 when they were trying to catch Tommy on not having a job, bald-headed logic. Thank you for that bald-headed logic there, Michael Holley. Here's the thing. LeBron could be the player that he is for now until the time that he's 45. And you are absolutely right. It will make him the most accomplished and decorated player in NBA history. And he can still wind up being that anyway. But if we're talking about greatest, we're not talking about accumulation. We're talking about where are you when your game is at its best. I think we can all agree that we've seen the best of LeBron James already. If by 2013, which I think was one of the 5 best seasons in NBA history, if the best of LeBron James isn't better than the best of Michael Jordan, then what are we talking about here? Everything else is just turning into accumulation of statistics, maybe a couple more championships, but we're talking about me at my best against you at your best. And I don't care about the passage of time and anything else, because like I've said before, we talk about Prince and Stevie Wonder, and they haven't made great music. Prince is long past, and Stevie, hasn't been making music like that. Stevie's peak was in his 70s. Prince's peak was in his 80s. So we can't talk about the passage of time automatically meaning that something is bigger, better, and greater. We just know it when we see it. And for as great as LeBron James is, the reason he's not greater than Michael Jordan is because no matter what stat you put out there, he's not a better basketball player than Michael Jordan.
It's so interesting. I love this. I'm glad you said that, Vinny. Vinny and Mike, for both of you. This blows my mind. We've come a long way. We have advanced statistics now in the NBA. We don't just have the old school stats, old man stats, and old woman stats. We got the new age advanced stats. We've got play efficiency rate, effective field goal percentage, and PER. We got all this stuff. So we got stats. We have 82-game seasons in most years. We have a historical record for records and championships. But when we get to these arguments, all of that goes out of the way. We're playing a competitive sport. They keep score, but we're not supposed to talk about wins. We're not supposed to talk about championships. We're not going to talk about rebounds and assists and triple doubles. All that goes out of the way to this amorphous, this feel good. Does it pass the eye test? Now we're down to the eye test.
Wait. So you mean to tell me if LeBron James grabs one more rebound a game or one more assist a game than Michael Jordan, just an accumulative stat, that makes him a better basketball player, especially when you see triple doubles being thrown around like
no, it makes him a better passer. He's a better passer.
He may be
He's a better passer than Michael Jordan.
Okay.
He's a better passer.
LeBron is one of the 5 greatest passers in the history of the game. You're absolutely right. Because of his vision, because of his unselfishness, because of the fact that he's ambidextrous, you're absolutely right. But he's not a better scorer. He's not a better one-on-one defender. He doesn't fit into a system better than Michael Jordan. And if you're talking about the advanced stats and everything else and how LeBron should have won an MVP, in the past 8 years, the last time that he led the league and box score plus minus and win shares per 48 minutes was the last actual year that he won MVP. LeBron James has made it a point of his to tell everybody that the regular season does not matter, that only championships matter. And now he comes on the back end and says, well, I should have won more MVPs. So which one is it? Does the regular season only matter in hindsight when you're playing the long game? Or can you say, you know what? The regular season matters to me. I can go hard for 82 games, have enough ready for June, win through the playoffs, and win a regular season MVP, because that has not been the narrative that LeBron James has put out forth to the world for the past 7 or 8 years. Remember, quote unquote, chill mode and all these other things, and the years that the Cavs had one of the worst defenses in the NBA, but had a dynamite offense. Michael Jordan or none of these MVPs that we talked about played on historically bad defenses the way that those late era Cavs teams had terrible defenses. And if we're going to acknowledge that LeBron is playing great defense this year, that must mean he must not have been playing great defense in the past several years.
Okay, hey Michael, I'll just leave, Michael and Vinny, I'll just leave it at this.
I was at a family barbecue. Like, I mean, y'all, you don't.
I am from Detroit, and you have me defending the honor of Michael Jordan. Are you serious?
One of America's great cities, love Detroit. Let me tell you this, nothing says chill mode like riding a bus through the Southern League, playing AA baseball, taking a year off from basketball, okay? So there's load management, and then there's leaving the league for a year, and then coming back, and then I'm gonna leave for 3 more years, then I'm gonna come back again.
But you know what's funny? He never asked Hakeem Olajuwon to give back his MVPs, though. He never said Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't a worthy champion in those years. He didn't try to discredit it. He said, you know what, Karl Malone?
He did tell Jackie McMullen. He told Jackie McMullen years after the fact, hey, I'm still mad that you gave the MVP to Karl Malone over me. Yeah, because I took that personally.
Because she wrote a bogus SI article that basically made us give Karl Malone the MVP like he was Susan Lucci in the soap opera awards, because Karl Malone said, I'll never win an MVP. And when Sports Illustrated was the Bible for everybody and everybody voted for him, when we all knew that Michael Jordan was then and the next year the best player in basketball. No matter what you use to motivate yourself, that's fine. Karl Malone's MVP was fraudulent. We're all family. We in the words of Bernie Mac, we family. We family. We can say that now, right?
Fraudulent. Man.
Tangentially, you mentioned LeBron's defense this year, probably Rudy Gobert. But nonetheless, there's a case for LeBron as Defensive Player of the Year this year. Doc Rivers also politicked for Ben Simmons as Defensive Player of the Year. And in a season in which we fixated on MVP, as we always do, and Joel Embiid has been the focus of conversation, I dare I say it is Ben Simmons, and this obviously does not apply to you, Vinny Goodwill, because you just wrote about it for Yahoo. Is Ben Simmons and his dominance, specifically on defense, is it, relatively speaking, flying below the national radar? In other words, are we giving Ben Simmons the flowers that he should be getting right now?
I think it's a tough thing to play right now because defense is so undervalued in the NBA. When you look at the numbers across the board, when you look at so many offensive explosions and Dame Lillard and Steph and all these triple doubles and all these players doing so many spectacular things, it's shown that our focus is on one end of the floor. And when we talk about Ben Simmons, our focus is usually on one end of the floor because he doesn't shoot. So because we've looked at him as largely being this one-dimensional player who has not improved statistically in a bunch of different levels in his 4th year, we don't look at defense because A, the rules prohibit you from basically playing tough defense, and B, we don't know how to measure great defense in today's game because who's going to stop Kevin Durant? who's going to stop James Harden? Who's going to stop LeBron James being a freight train? So it's really hard to judge that from an individual standpoint just because of the way that the rules are. Now, in the playoffs, if you get fans in the building, there's a little more heated atmosphere and the refs let you play a little bit more, then we'll be more accurate, a more accurate depiction, unless it's like block shots or steals or something so easily that we can see. Ben Simmons doesn't play that type of defense. He's just very, very solid across the board. And if Ben Simmons is being overlooked, largely Michael Smith, that probably works to his advantage, considering we're not talking about how he don't shoot.
How do you, well, see, I think that probably gets into your answer. I'm just guessing what your answer would be on this, because I was going to ask you how you see Philadelphia as a contender, as a championship contender. And perhaps that's one of the big issues. Playoffs, you're packing in. Ben Simmons, you got to make a shot, baby. You got to take it.
It's a huge, huge responsibility to be a team's second best player and best perimeter player, with apologies to Tobias Harris, who's having a fantastic year. The defenses are going to key in a 4-7 series and say, at some point, you're going to have to do something besides shoot outside of 3 feet. Now, if he can minimize the effect of a Kevin Durant or a Kyrie or a James Harden defensively, not shut them down, because you can't shut them down, but slow them down enough to the point that the math changes a little bit, then maybe you can mitigate that, right? Because you have a Seth Curry out there. You have Tobias Harris. You have shooters, so that you don't have to worry about this one guy who's not shooting. It's going to take a masterful job from Doc Rivers strategically and even mentally from Ben Simmons, because once teams start packing it in by game 3 or 4, everybody knows what everybody's doing. There are no secrets, and it comes down to execution in those little things. I wonder, do they have enough counters when your second best player is so straight line, one-dimensional? I think by and large, the Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be fantastic. I can see all 4 teams, including Miami, getting to the finals and actually winning this thing no matter how it plays out. But I do give Philadelphia, given the fact that they have, in my opinion, the MVP front runner or co-front runner with Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. If you got a guy that good, assuming he's healthy, and you've got one perimeter guy that can get his shot, I don't see a big in the East that can slow down Embiid in a 7-game series, and that could very well be the difference.
This is the last thing I got for you, big dog. I'm trying to decide where I would rather see Lonzo Ball end up. With these upstart Knicks, which I've seen reports that he could be a target for the Knicks by the trade deadline, or with the Clippers, which is also sexy. I could be down to see either one of those. Him back in LA in the other locker room, or him in the Big Apple. But what do you think is the most likely destination for now Pelicans guard Lonzo Ball?
I wouldn't say the Clippers, only because the Clippers need a point guard, but more than a point guard, they need a guy with attitude. And I don't mean attitude as in Lonzo is soft or anything like that. I think Lonzo's a very effective player, but they need someone who's aggressive and can challenge the defense and can shift defenses by being aggressive and going to the basket. To me, that's someone like a Terry Rozier in Charlotte. You know, he may not be as good of a player as Lonzo, may not be as good of a shooter or even as a decision maker, but somebody that makes defenses uncomfortable. Lonzo hits shots as a result of defenses being made uncomfortable. I think there's a difference. I don't think he makes defenses uncomfortable by his activity. With that being said, I think he's a much better fit with the Knicks and what Tom Thibodeau does, as opposed to the Clippers, because the stakes are so much higher with the Clippers. There's no room for Lonzo to be able to grow into his position. The Clippers are trying to win a championship now, and they're trying to win a championship yesterday. Like, they don't have time for someone who you may not know that he's there in his worst moments. Whereas at least with Terry Rozier, he's so aggressive and he's so much of a dog. He's, in that way, I think that attitude helps them a little bit more. With the Knicks, Lonzo can be a defensive pest, and he won't have the pressure of having to play championship-level basketball from that spot with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and everything else that goes on there. I think the Knicks will be a better fit for him in his own personal career.
Cool. All right, big dog. We appreciate you, man. Have a good weekend. Thanks for taking some of that load off of me, man. It gets hard having to hold it down for the logical among us when it comes
you guys
to
thank me.
Jordan conversation. So thank you for bearing that burden for me today.
I don't want any money. I don't want any praise. 4 years from now, you guys will thank me in 4 years. I'll wait. 4 years. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.